People always think that the century that they live in is the one that's changing the fastest. In our case, that may actually be true. Certainly the 20th century saw a number of interlocking technological developments and discoveries that changed our world beyond recognition. Some of these meant that we began to live longer, so the human lifespan has extended by an average of 30 years across the developed world in that period of time. That was early 20th century. Then, in addition to that, you have technological changes in the way we communicate and in the way that we travel that have shrunk the world, that have globalized the world, that have meant that we all learn things and see things and communicate in a completely different way. We live in an aging world, so we're having fewer children, and of course we're living longer, so the profile of populations is aging very fast. And what is ironic about that, of course, is you would think that that would mean that we became more used to seeing older people, that we perhaps began to value older people more, and it's actually meant the opposite, that the cult of youth actually holds sway, and that's had a pretty profound impact on how we interact with each other, on what we value, on how we present ourselves. One thing is very important to make clear: there is such a thing as age. There is biological age. Now, I said we are living 30 years longer than we did, but that does not mean that the cells in our body are not dying and that changes are not taking place. There are other forms of age, of measuring age, for example, cognitive age. But a lot of what we understand by age has always been a cultural construct, something that we as a society invent. And so the fact that that is losing sway, or rather it's not losing sway, it's just adapting, that is a natural process. And I think rather than worrying about it, we should understand it. Where we are at the moment is we're in an age of age confusion, where people do not know what to expect of the way they should feel at any certain age, or what they think is age-appropriate behaviour. One of the things that is very bad for people, and they've done experiments that show that this is bad for people, is you can think yourself old. So if you have an outmoded idea of age and you think, oh, I've just hit 60, so therefore I'm a pensioner, and that means I will stop trying anything new, I will stop moving my body physically, I will stop exploring things with my mind. That actually ages you. Whereas if you continue to be curious about the world around you, and curious of trying new things and meeting new people and engaged, that's good for you. The phrase that kept coming up again and again with my interviewees, which I find much more helpful actually than the concept of aging gracefully, is happy in your own skin. The reason I don't really like the phrase to age gracefully is that comes very close to telling you that you have to be a certain way at a certain age. And of course that's not true, because nobody really knows how you should be at a certain age. When I was researching the book, I interviewed a lot of different people, including some well-known people, and from the most unlikely source I found a motto for my own life. It was something Bob Geldof said to me: age recedes in direct proportion to the vitality of your ideas. And that seems to me to be a perfect way of looking at the whole problem of aging, and how one would remain happy in one's, comfortable in one's own skin, and how one would go forward without sacrificing any of the vitality that one is capable of, but still being able to acknowledge the fact that one is growing older. I think dignity is massively overrated. If it's a choice between dignity and acting the way other people think that one should be acting as you get older, and still maintaining the ability to have fun, to behave the way you feel like behaving, that seems to me absolutely fine, and I'm not worried about it. What I really do worry about is not just my own response to age and change, but also the fact that we live in a society in which we seem to think it's acceptable for some of us to have a much better shot at aging well than other people, and that has to do with social inequality. So not just about what we do individually, but what we do as a society in terms of making sure that older people are more valued, that we live, when we have these 30 years of extra life, that we actually live them in good health. I, for example, got quite angry when I looked at the reasons why many of us will have those 30 extra years but have them in bad health. There has been so much change that government policy makers, we ourselves, have not kept up with it. So to me, one of the key things we can do to age well ourselves is to also start looking outwards and to start seeing what else we can do in the world. Since I did the book, people are always asking me about my own personal response to aging and getting older, and I joke, but it's not entirely a joke, that writing the book was my response to getting older. As it happens, the book came out on my 50th birthday, so I don't really think that that is a coincidence. The reason that I gave you the Bob Geldof quote is that for me personally, everything comes from being able to have passion and ideas and interests, and to really get up every day being interested in going out there and finding out something new.